What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Mac Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great Mac to everyone.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Mac Sports Connection podcast. You're joined by myself, Alex, and Graham, and we are done with week 6, going into week 7 of the college football season. Graham, I think nobody could have picked the week that we had.
I think if you watched our picks, we didn't pick the week that we had. I think it would be tough to pick all the games, But yeah, it was certainly a Maction type week.
Yeah, just and I think it's in honor of Conference USA kicking off their midweek games. The MAC said, "Hey, we want to make sure you know that we still exist," and so they lit up our tickers at the bottom of the screen. Ball State upsetting Ohio, Central Michigan getting upset by Akron, Buffalo eking out just a marginal victory. Well, let's just dive into some of these games here, Graham. Kent State, Oklahoma, not much to write home about. Oklahoma did exactly what we expected Oklahoma to do. I don't have much to say on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game went exactly as the game went. We talked about this one last week. Kent State is not going to win, but they are getting paid. And so good for the Flashes. But this one went as expected.
Make that money, Flashes. Which one do we want to talk about first? Do we want to do Ball State or do we want to do Miami?
Oh, the game that was actually more interesting to me was the Miami game. I think the Ball State game is interesting, but the Miami game was more interesting to me. And the reason for that is these are two teams, there's Miami and Northern Illinois. These are two teams that I had almost dead even in my mind in terms of the quality of the teams this season. And this game was a great example of the way one game can change your opinion on these teams. I told you beforehand, Alex, that as I was picking these, I want Miami unless DeQuan Finn is out. Then give me NIU. DeQuan Finn was in, and Miami won as expected. I mean, Northern Illinois comes out, they strike hard, they strike first. They owned the first quarter 14-0.
Yep.
And then they didn't score for the rest of the game. Suddenly Miami's defense remembered, oh yeah, we're one of the top defenses in the conference, and they stopped letting the Huskies score.
Well, and to the Huskies' credit, Coach Thomas Hammock has been catching a lot of fire from fans, from even some media, about continuing to run out Josh Holst as the quarterback. Josh Holst has performed unbelievably poor here in the first 4 games. Then they run out Brady Davidson, the freshman, who not a terrible freshman debut. Sucks that you have to play one of the best defenses in the conference, as you mentioned. He did throw a touchdown, below 50% completion percentage. But now I think he's going to get a little bit more settled. Hats off to Miami for winning the Mallory Cup, and they get to keep the Mallory Cup at least for the foreseeable future. I know that Sean Frazier, the athletic director at Northern Illinois, said that he would love to continue this rivalry even as non-conference opponents. So, but that game's not on the books for next year. So, for at least the next year, we see Northern Illinois yearning to get that trophy back. Miami, that bus trip home, pretty pleasant for them.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this is a Red Hawks team who had trouble finding a win. Now they get to talk about their 1-0 in the conference, 2-3 overall. I think the story of this game is one, it's Miami's offense or Miami's defense. Pardon me. It's Miami's defense showing up in the the final 3 quarters of the game. The other story I think is Brady Davison. This kid is freshman. Had a tough outing. This is, you talked about only about 50%, under 50% completion percentage, only about 100 yards through the air. Now, Northern Illinois hasn't had much of a passing attack this year, so this isn't a huge surprise. But what is, I think you can expect from a freshman, is to take care of the ball and throwing a pick, 2 fumbles, 1 lost. That's tough. That's a tough outing and a tough debut for Brady Davison. I think he'll get better over time, but this Northern Illinois offense needs to get better now. That's again another game where they had over 100 yards on the ground, total rushing offense. But when you only put up 100 yards to the air, you need a ton more rushing or a little more passing. And the Northern Illinois offense got neither.
Lazaro Rogers kind of headlined this backfield, the freshman from Florida, 98 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. So, a nice outing for him for sure. We'll see what happens with Northern Illinois. They take on the men from Ypsi, the Eastern Michigan Eagles. So looking forward to that matchup this next weekend. Speaking of Eastern Michigan, we've got Eastern Michigan at Buffalo, and what a barn burner this was. Blow for blow through 4 quarters, and then overtime was the ultimate decider, and it was by a point.
Yeah. The final in this one, Buffalo 31, Eastern Michigan 30, and this game is about as close as you could possibly get. The teams matched each other through 4 quarters, and then 1 point difference in overtime it decides the game. Eastern came out. I have continued to say the Bulls are one of my top teams in the conference this year, and for Eastern to come out, head to Buffalo, and make this game as close as it was, I think it says something about the Eastern Michigan Eagles. I don't have a ton to say about this game. I think both teams played remarkably well, and especially Eastern Michigan coming out and really making this one the barn burner, as you said it was.
It's really interesting. 45 seconds left. So really, the last 3 minutes of this game, were so interesting. You watch the win probability meter on ESPN. Eastern Michigan was at 97.5% to win with 2:26 to go. And then with literally 45 seconds to go, Eastern Michigan, 99.9% win probability on a 2nd and 10 incomplete pass. I can speak by Taquan Robinson at the Buffalo 9. So they were on 3rd down, and Buffalo marches down, kicks the field goal, sends it into overtime, and then Eastern Michigan can't respond with their 2-point conversion to fall to 1-5. Eastern Michigan 2-10 in their last 12 games. Tough sledding for the Eagles as of late. Moving on up the list, though, we've got Central Michigan Akron. You talked about the Miami Northern Illinois game being one of the most interesting ones. I was thoroughly surprised by this outcome, and not because I thought Central Michigan played bad, although I think they played bad. Akron looked phenomenal in this matchup.
Akron looked sharp. Now you call it the home field advantage, call it the blind squirrel finding a nut. This was Akron really looked good here throughout the game, and hats off to them. I thought Central Michigan clearly the better team, but the Zips proved me wrong this weekend, coming out and really looking sharp, winning 28-22.
Yeah, and the numbers are what really blow my mind. Akron, 422 offensive yards, 20 first downs, 9 of 15 on 3rd down conversions, 100%, 1 of 1 on 4th down conversions, maintained the time of possession, And, Central Michigan got a little bit close there late in the game. Fourth quarter made it interesting. We're able to shut down the Zips. But Akron did all their damage in the middle periods, and they come away with a much-needed victory. And now, Graham, you'll remember, beginning of the year when we were doing our Akron preview, the question that I had was, will Akron just lay down because they're not playing for anything, or are they looking to play a little bit of spoiler this year? I think at least in this game, they were looking to play a little bit of spoiler.
Well, I think these guys are, these guys are Division I football players. There's a little bit of pride that comes with playing football at this level, and the Zips showed up. They showed out at home, and that's a great feeling. Not a ton of fans come to these Akron games, so it's great to see when those who do come out are rewarded. I love this Ben Finley line here. 18 for 29 passing, 252 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick. But what's more impressive, Jordan Gant. Can we talk about this guy? 32 carries for 176 yards. Doesn't quite find his way into the end zone, but what a game for Jordan Gant.
Yeah, he balled out. I mean, if we were going to give a bunch of helmet stickers, I think I give it to the entire Akron offense, right? I just feel like they all earned it. But Jordan Gant, absolute bowling ball against this supposedly stout Central Michigan rush defense. And they didn't look the part this weekend over there at InfoCision Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, tough to go on the road. Tough to win on the road in the conference. We know the way the MAC works is that there's a ton of parity here. So I don't feel so bad for Central Michigan here. More props to Akron than anything negative to say about the Chippewas.
Absolutely. Moving into Western Michigan, UMass, their first game back in the Mid-American Conference, and they held a lead for an entire quarter and promptly gave it away in the second quarter, and that was all the Broncos wrote as Brock Lowry and co. dominated in a sense, I guess. UMass shut them out for the last 3 periods, but Brock Lowry, 163 yards passing, 92 yards on the ground, just a really great outing here, and a solid outing. This wasn't a blowout victory. This was just a solid, let's go get the win and get back to Kalamazoo kind of win for the Broncos, and now they're 2-0 in conference play.
Yeah, 2-0 in the MAC puts them at the top of the conference right now. And I think the Broncos are something that we got to be keeping our eye on this year. I know last year they burned us a little bit, doing so well to start the year and then just tanking. So I know, at least for myself, I'm a little gun shy on talking about Western Michigan as one of the top teams in the conference. But Brock Lowry continues to do what is asked of him, which is everything on offense. Brock Lowry, a touchdown through the air on Saturday, as well as one on the ground, 92 yards on the ground, 163 yards through the air. Kind of a do everything quarterback for the Broncos, and resulted in a 21-3 win. This one went as expected, but good to see Western Michigan showing up and showing out.
Yeah, I do want to give some quick flowers here to Timmy Hinspeter. He is sitting third in the Mid-American Conference in total tackles. He had 14 of those tackles on Saturday against the Broncos. So I just want to give him his flowers for putting on a performance, trying to give UMass an opportunity to win this one. Obviously, they could not, but 14 total tackles, 8 of them solo. Not a bad day for Hinspeter.
Yeah, and somebody on the UMass defense has to step up, and Hinspeter did on Saturday. So keep your eye on Hinspeter. He also recovered a fumble, so
yeah,
that's something to write home about.
Let's talk about what we're writing home about here with Ball State and Ohio. It was a sucker play to pick Ball State, or at least we thought it was a sucker play to pick Ball State. Ball State let Ohio have a 14-0 lead at halftime. Ohio started, shifting into their, okay, we're going to cruise through this thing. And then Ball State, 20 unanswered points in the third and fourth quarters, shutting out this high-powered Ohio offense, one of the best offenses, not just in the MAC, but one of the best offenses in the country, to take away a victory. Kyle Kelly, who has been counted out time and time and time again, found a 43-yard pass to Keon Magwood to secure the victory over the Bobcats, and a much-needed 1-0 start for Mike Uremovich and these Ball State Cardinals.
Yeah, Ball State looked great in this one. Offensively, Ball State looked okay. Where they shone was on defense. 4 sacks against the Bobcats, 3.5 of them coming from Nathan Voorhees, who also leads the conference in sacks right now.
And
he
leads the country in sacks.
And that's the story of the this defense is that Nathan Voorhees coming up. 8 sacks on the season so far. As I said, 3.5 of them coming over this weekend.
Yeah.
So something to say there. Big deal with Nathan Voorhees. Again, as you said, leading the nation in sacks with 8. And a great game for him. Really the difference maker in this game for me. It's Ohio being shut down in the second half. Ohio doesn't score a point after halftime. That gives Ball State a chance to come back and secure that victory 20-14.
Chase Hendricks for Ohio still had another great game, 8 catches, 104 yards. Parker Navarro, a lot quieter than we've expected out of him. Still almost 300 yards himself, 255 officially, 77 on the ground, 188 through the air. But he was outdueled by his counterpart, Kyle Kelly, who had a rushing and a passing touchdown and more combined total yardage. Just a great effort from Ball State to secure this victory. Again, move to 1-0 and get the MAC play for head coach Mike Uremovich started on a positive note.
There you go. And just to mention, as we move on, Chase Hendricks, 3rd in the country in receiving yards. So got some MAC players up on the leaderboard that are having a great season so far.
And you love to see it because they're not playing, some of these big schools will be playing the cupcakes. Like, Ohio State played Grambling State earlier this year. The Ball States and the Ohio's are going and playing the Ohio States, who are going to be a lot tougher competition, and they're still getting it done, still finding themselves on national leaderboards. So hats off to all of these guys for sure. Graham, before we get into this next week, I want to make sure that everybody has had the chance to download the Varsity app from Lairfield. It's free to download for them on the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, wherever you download your mobile apps. And in fact, with this Varsity app, you can listen live to all your favorite D1 college teams, hear calls from voices from across the MAC, the Big Ten, SEC, and more. You can sign up, sign in, and save your favorite schools, sports, and content for easy access. But then you're also going to find a bunch of incredible podcasts through the Varsity Podcast Network, including fan favorites such as the MAC Sports Connection, the Group of Five Guys podcast, Sickos Committee podcast, and many more. So make sure you guys have downloaded the Varsity app for free. Start listening to the calls and podcasts that bring your schools and conferences to life.
Absolutely, and you got to hop on that Varsity app and listen to some of these great MAC guys. We mentioned Chase Hendricks, 3rd in the country in receiving. We mentioned Nate Voorhees at 1st in the country in sacks. Who we didn't mention, Red Murdoch leading the country in tackles. How did we not do that? He picks up where he left off last year and still leading the country in tackles. Hopefully he can bring on some more of that as the season continues, but not next week as the Bulls are on bye. Alex, next week, do you have a game of the week that we should be looking out for?
Graham, my automatic inherent bias for Toledo is going to shine through this week, but I think it's the game everybody should be watching, and it's the Toledo Rockets taking on the Bowling Green Falcons down at Deutsch Perry Stadium at noon over on ESPNU. I think this has to be the game in the week, and if not this one, I'm sure you have another one in mind. But I think that this one is the one that's the most interesting for what goes on for conference implications the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think this is a great prove it game. I talked about last week that Miami NIU game was a prove it game to me. I have both those teams pretty similarly ranked in my head, and coming out seeing Miami win that game gave me a little bit more solid understanding of where these teams are. I think Toledo Bowling Green, this is a great prove it game. This is a game where I think Toledo is one of the top 2 teams in the conference in terms of talent, and this is a great opportunity for the Rockets to show that they belong in that spot. It's also an opportunity for Bowling Green to prove that that loss to Ohio is not what it seemed. If Bowling Green can win this one, it would go a long way towards showing that this team is ready to compete for a MAC title.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really the tale of the tape for this coming week. A lot of opportunity, a lot of potential future setup for both of these teams who both have a conference loss already. So it'll be interesting to see both their combined hovering at 500 on the year. Toledo's the favorite right now. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm not going to reveal my pick for this week quite yet. You guys will get that graphic later this week, but that one should be a great game. Graham, do you have another game on here that
I do.
Is interesting?
We're going the opposite way this week, Alex. We've been talking about some prove it games this week, and I think there are a couple more prove it games on the schedule this coming up week. But for me, the next most exciting game is UMass at Kent State.
Oh boy, here we go.
This is an interesting game. We talk about UMass when we talk about teams in this conference. We talk about the parity of the MAC. We have yet to see where UMass fits in that. This is a team who has been completely beaten so far. They're 0-5. They're 0-1 in MAC play, and we know that Kent State is a team who is possible for UMass to beat. So we'll see if the Flashes show up and win at home and hold down their home turf, sending UMass packing, or if UMass can pick up their first victory back in the conference. I think this is an interesting one. 2:30 on ESPN Plus. I would check this one out just for the sake of who's the basement dweller in the conference. This is a game that's another prove it game.
Another prove it game, and I think if I had the weekend, I think I would come out to this game because I kind of want to see this in action. This looks like it's going to be a really fun game, and maybe not fun because it's going to be great football, in fairness to both teams, but fun because it's going to be 2 teams who are trying not to be the ones to lose. They're going to be both battling to come out victorious, and I think that's going to make for a really, really fun afternoon.
And I'll tell you what, I would be very surprised if that Dick's Stadium parking lot wasn't rocking for this one. I think the Kent State fans are going to turn out and have a great time. So if you do have a chance to check out a game this weekend, that might be one to check out. Toledo Bowling Green, obviously rivalry game. That's going to be rocking. I think Kent State is also going to be rocking. Another prove it game this week, Alex. Akron, Miami. Is Miami coming to Akron? This one, we saw Akron last week show up against Central Michigan. We saw Miami last week show up against Northern Illinois. Now, the question here is, can either of these teams rise to the next level? Can Miami show that this is the type of team they are? They are one of the top teams in the conference and take down the Zips. Or is Akron going to show that actually they're ready to compete? Even though this year they can't go to the postseason, even though this year a MAC championship is just not in the cards, are they going to show that they are a tough team and they just need the postseason ban to be taken away for them to be real competitors for a championship?
Well, like we said earlier this year, Akron has all the opportunity in the world to play spoiler to a lot of contenders in the Mid-American Conference this year. We saw them not play spoiler to Toledo's season 2 weeks ago, but we did see them play a little bit of spoiler to Central's season. Can they do it again against Miami this week? So that one, 12 o'clock over on ESPN Plus. Northeast Ohio is going to be rocking with some MAC football this weekend. That should be exciting. But moving into the state of Michigan, we got 2 battles here in Michigan. One at Eastern Michigan, Northern Illinois, making the trip to Ypsilanti, 1 o'clock kickoff on ESPN Plus. And this is another intriguing one. Combined 2-9, combined 0-3 in conference play are these two programs.
Somebody's going to walk out of here with the MAC win. And we'll see who it is. Noah Kim currently leading the conference in passing yards. So we'll see if he can command the Eastern Michigan offense to take down Northern Illinois at home. Northern Illinois, of course, coming off a loss to Miami. And so an opportunity for Northern Illinois to show that they are the team who beat Notre Dame last year. They are the team who is strong enough to move conferences. But for me, I think this is the Eagles. I think they're going to take down the Huskies and give them a nice kick as they walk out the door.
And I just want to say one thing on Northern Illinois before we move on to the last game of the week. I know that a lot of people are very frustrated with how this season is going. And there's a lot of chatter online about, well, once we get this Mountain West money, we'll be a little bit better. And I don't entirely disagree. Money's not going to fix things overnight. There is a systemic problem at Northern Illinois, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, that needs to be addressed. And that's when you're going to be competitive again. So I'm very curious to see what this game looks like, who Thomas Hammett goes with at quarterback. Is it going to be Brady Davidson, or is he going to throw Josh Holst out there again? But right now there's a systemic issue with the Northern Illinois offense that needs to be addressed. You saw playmakers transfer out from Northern Illinois this offseason, go to other schools. The transfer portal isn't an excuse anymore. Every other MAC team deals with the transfer portal. They lose top talent to Power 4 programs as well. There's got to be an overhaul on the offensive side of the ball for the Huskies.
And I think I agree there. This is Huskies have a decent rushing attack and have nothing in the way of passing so far. So here's hoping that Northern Illinois can figure something out. Our final game this week, another MAC matchup. Ball State against Western Michigan. You know, Alex, a week ago, I would have said this game is a foregone conclusion for the Broncos, playing at home and going up against Ball State, who I didn't think had a lot of talent there. But after last week, after Ball State taking down Ohio, this game got a whole lot more interesting for me. I still think this is Western's game to lose, being at home in Kalamazoo, but we know that the Cardinals can show up and they can win games now. So another interesting one, 3:30 on ESPN Plus.
I am genuinely excited for this one. I think that there is an opportunity for Ball State, not as a prove it game, but more of a, hey, we're on the upswing. We're coming back as a program who's been in decline since 2020. And Western Michigan, this feels like a make or break season for Lance Taylor. A lot of opportunities for him. Again, they're sitting 2-0 in conference play. Combined, I never would have said at this stage in the season these two teams would both be undefeated in conference play after knowing what the beginning of their schedules look like. But here we are, two of the undefeateds. One of them will no longer be undefeated in the Mid-American Conference, so should be a good one.
Agreed.
All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate the love, support, and all the interactions. You guys have continued to push us out as being the number one podcast covering the Mid-American Conference exclusively, so we appreciate all of the support there. Graham, do you have anything else before we wrap this thing up?
I think that's it. Go out and support your MAC teams. Watch some action this weekend and get excited as the season winds on. We're about halfway in now, so things are really shaping up within the conference, and as conference play continues, it's just going to get more exciting.
Love to hear it. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next week and break down a big week in Mid-American Conference football. We'll see ya.